Russia is ablaze. A gigantic fire has shaken the enemy. Social media is buzzing with theories: sabotage, drone attack, or the start of a new phase of the war. Meanwhile, the enemy went all in. The occupiers broke into the front from different directions, but got a beating. The Ukrainian armed forces set a deadly trap for them. Russian equipment turned into fiery clouds. We have gathered all the latest footage from the front lines for you. What's happening on the front? Watch.
In these shots, you see a Ukrainian MiG-29 fighter pilot clearing the skies over Ukraine by shooting down an enemy Shahed. Incredible footage. This time, the Russians decided to use a new tactic. They simultaneously launched an armored column from different flanks under cover, along with groups on high-speed motorcycles. Apparently, they were counting on surprise and the speed of the breakthrough. But they failed to break through. The enemy units began to slow down under fire. And it was at this moment that they were struck by drones. One by one, the targets literally evaporated on the move. The pilots of the 28th Separate Mechanized Brigade, in close cooperation with their comrades from the 93rd Separate Mechanized Brigade, Kholodny Yar, and other related units, acted precisely and cohesively. The motorcycle groups were completely destroyed, along with one armored combat vehicle, Daadito, which Russian propaganda pompously called invincible. The enemy landing force was first literally torn apart by drone drops and FPV strikes, and then the infantry finished the job by clearing the area of the last enemy. On the night of April 29th, a fire occurred near the fuel tanks in the Russian city of Novorossiysk. According to open sources and local telegram channels, the fire broke out in close proximity to the fuel, war, and energy infrastructure facilities. The scale of the fire caused concern among local residents. The official authorities traditionally limited themselves to a dry statement about the fire at the industrial site, without going into details. Instead, social media is actively spreading speculations about the causes of the fire. This is not the first such incident in the region in recent months. Previously, fires have already been recorded near oil depots in the Krasnodar region and in southern Russia. On social media, the fire in Novorossiysk is already being linked to a response for the strike on Cherkasy. Such a mirrored response demonstrates that energy facilities deep in the rear of Russia are no longer unreachable. The fighters of the 63rd Brigade continue to methodically destroy enemy equipment. At least 13 units have been destroyed in recent days. The brigade's anti-aircraft gunners impressed once again with their effectiveness. For the third time this month, they shot down one of the most expensive Russian tactical reconnaissance drones, the Merlin VR. The Russians market this drone as a high-tech device. But in reality, it once again became an easy target for Ukrainian air defense. Meanwhile, UAV pilots and combat drone systems continue to hunt down the equipment and personnel of the occupiers. Successful strikes have destroyed a Bukanka type truck, a motorcycle, a Vaz off-road vehicle, 3 guns, and 6 mortars. Each such strike is not just a destroyed piece of equipment, but a reduction in the enemy's firepower, mobility, and reconnaissance capabilities. The third destruction of the Merlin this month looks particularly symbolic. This once again confirms that the much-publicized high-tech equipment of Russia cannot withstand encounters with well-prepared and equipped Ukrainian defenders. The fighters of the 63rd Brigade continue to do their job accurately, cohesively, and tirelessly. The enemy suffers losses and is once again convinced the sky and the earth are on our side. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the warriors of the Artan unit timely detected the preparation of a large-scale enemy attack, and with the help of UAVs and artillery, crushed it before it could reach our positions. The enemy attempted to carry out a massive armored attack, counting on the element of surprise. But Ukrainian scouts from Artan detected the enemy columns on the approach, and from a distance of 10 kilometers, our artillery and strike drones began to engage them. As a result, at least 15 pieces of equipment were destroyed or disabled, and up to 150 occupiers were neutralized. Meanwhile, our infantry hardly engaged in direct combat. The entire operation was swiftly executed using firepower. Even in cases where the enemy managed to land troops, the equipment that brought them to the line of contact was destroyed on the way back, along with the paratroopers themselves, who hadn't managed to secure their position. This is yet another example of effective, high-precision and contactless warfare, where intelligence, drones and artillery play the leading role. In the Pokrovsk direction, our defenders stopped 59 assault actions by the aggressor in the areas of the settlements of Sukaya Balka, UDDD, Sukhoyar, Lisovka, Kotlinoe, Udakhnoe, Novosergeyevka, Troitskoe, Kotliarovka, Podestay, as well as towards Pokrovsk, Stara Nikolaevka, Alexandropol, and Bogdanovka. The enemy advanced in Uspenovka, near Kotliarovka and Razdolnoe. There is also enemy advancement near Demidovka, and the enemy has occupied Nadivka. Additionally, the Ukrainian defense forces continue their operation in the Kursk region. In the past day, there have been 15 clashes in this direction. The enemy carried out 17 airstrikes, dropping 27 guided bombs and conducted 338 shellings, one of which was from multiple rocket launch systems. Our soldiers are inflicting significant losses on the occupying forces in manpower and equipment, actively undermining the enemy's offensive potential, and rear. Overall, in the past day, the losses of the Russian invaders amounted to 1,060 people. Ukrainian soldiers also neutralized 5 tanks, 14 armored fighting vehicles, 42 artillery systems, 1 air defense system, 94 operational tactical UAVs, and 140 enemy vehicles. That's all for today. Watch the next news tomorrow.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Iskander in ruins. Strike on a secret factory in Bryansk. Russia is left without super missiles. The armed forces of Ukraine are finishing off critical electronics. Meanwhile, shock. North Korea officially admits their soldiers are already in Russia. And this is just the beginning. Putin takes a crazy step, preparing to send Russians to fight for Kim. Simultaneously, the occupiers launched an offensive on Sumy. See what's happening on the front line right now.
A unique operation. Border guards used drones to free 3 Ukrainian soldiers from captivity. Ukrainian armed forces fighters discovered an enemy group that had captured Ukrainian defenders. Several UAV crews were dispatched to intercept and destroy the enemy. They managed to separate the enemy from the Ukrainian soldiers and forced the enemy to flee using drops. The drops were so precise that the enemy had no chance. The Russians abandoned the captives and retreated. Meanwhile, the Russian city of Bryansk was shaken. Explosions were heard there for several hours in a row.
Damn. How many will there be today?
The Crimea EL plant, which produces electronics for the military needs of the occupiers, was hit by drones.
In short, something is burning, and something is exploding there. It's burning very intensely.
Crimea EL produces a wide range of microchips and components used in strategic weapon systems, particularly in the Topol M and Bulava missile complexes, the S-300 and S-400 anti-aircraft missile systems, as well as onboard electronics for combat aircraft. 94% of Crimea EL's products are for the needs of the Russian military-industrial complex. It is one of the leading Russian factories for the production of microchips and components for both offensive weapons and the corresponding aerospace forces of the Russian Federation.
This is already the 3rd attack on the factory. In October last year, Crimea EL even temporarily ceased operations.
The Russian side was forced to admit at that time that the strikes paralyzed the production cycle and significantly reduced the capabilities of the Russian military-industrial complex in terms of replenishing offensive weapons.
Meanwhile, on the front, the area of gray zones and combat zones expanded to 5 to 7 kilometers due to the active use of drones by Ukrainian defenders and Russian occupiers, reports the Institute for the Study of War. Also, according to their data, the aggressor country's troops continue ground attacks in the Sumy region, attempting to create buffer zones and get closer to the city of Sumy within the range of their artillery. However, they have not achieved any confirmed successes.
The Russians are trying to expand their presence in the Sumy region, with plans to create a so-called sanitary zone, as they call it. That is, to effectively establish a Russian presence in the Sumy region, which would reduce or eliminate the possibility of a repeat of the successful Ukrainian counteroffensive scenario in the Kursk region. At the moment, there is no basis to speak of a threat of a breakthrough by Russian troops directly to the regional center. The Ukrainian Defense Forces are conducting an active defense.
Meanwhile, North Korea has officially confirmed for the first time that it has sent its troops to Russia to support Moscow in the war against Ukraine. This was done by order of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, according to the mutual defense agreement between Pyongyang and Moscow, as reported by South Korean media. The North Korean leader, according to the report, called the troops sent to Russia heroes carrying out a sacred mission.
The presence of North Korean military personnel is an open secret. According to the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, 12,000 North Korean military personnel have been deployed to the territory of the Russian Federation, specifically the Kursk region, to directly participate in combat operations. At the moment, the asynchronous statements from the Russian side and North Korea regarding the participation of North Korean army personnel in combat operations on the territory of the Russian Federation should be regarded as an element of political blackmail by the Russian Federation.
But it's not just the North Koreans. Putin is sending conscript soldiers to the war. This is evidenced by the interception of a conversation with a Russian woman.
They sleep in a cellar like the one you have. I even took pictures. They sleep in this cellar. This is Guevo, where all the fighting is happening. And they are currently there in Guevo. It's just terrible to send conscripts to such a war.
160,000 is the eternal draft. Moreover, it should be noted that conscripts will apparently be sent directly to the combat zones within the territory of the Russian Federation itself. This is primarily the Kursk and Belgorod regions, despite the Russian side's statements that conscripts do not participate in active combat operations. This information does not correspond to reality. It is precisely the conscripts who have replenished the main exchange fund, both in the Kursk and accordingly in the Belgorod regions.
And while Putin sends everyone to war indiscriminately, Europe is helping Ukraine fight the occupiers. The Czech Republic continues to support Ukraine with ammunition supplies as part of an initiative that began last year. According to the country's Ministry of Defense, 400,000 units of large-caliber ammunition will be delivered to Ukraine by the end of April.